Okay, welcome back everyone to the F1 2019 Career Mode Series, here around the Temple of Speed, which is Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. And we have three new messages here. We have the weekend preview, developments completed, which is obviously the one that failed last time, which we had to sort out, and then we've got other major ones coming in the future. The weather is clear, which is kind of boring, but at the same time I'm not complaining. We've had a lot of wet races. As you can see, Racing Point Alpha made a few step ups, but we're basically still bang on tied with them. This shows it even better. So we're basically tied as the fourth best car. My engine's a little bit worn, but it's not too bad for grid penalties. And other than that, it's time to go on into qualifying. So here we are then in qualifying. Our first lap in Q1. Hopefully our only lap. We should have the pace to comfortably go into Q2, especially with this car now. As through turn 1 we're a little bit wide into there. It's a heavy braking corner which then leads into another quick left-hander shortly after it. Now through Curva Grande, now down the straight sort of, I don't really know, now into the turn 3 full chicane, or 4 or 5 I think actually. It's now into the first of the two Lesmos, and down a really straight here into the second Lesmo. Two beautiful little right-handers sweeping round. Very easy to lose the back end on traction, so you have to be a little bit careful on there, but just as long as you don't get up on the curb too much, you should be okay. Now down the main straight into the Ascari chicane, where you go left, then you go right, then you go left. Very easy to lose the car. I took it very nicely there. Very easy to lose a lot of time through there if you are not careful. Hulkenberg goes quickest, but obviously other people haven't set lap times through the final corner, the Parabolica, which we made an absolute mess of, but we recovered it just about to get something out of it. But we went on the grass, which is never ideal on any corner really. We do go quickest though. And after Q1, Carlos Sainz has not made it through. That is a real surprise. And we made it comfortably through. Shame that Carlos Sainz did not. I don't really know how he didn't manage to make it out, but he didn't. So into turn 1, much better on the brakes this time. Again, a really nice exit. We have already set a lap in Q2, but it was a very scruffy one. Well, it wasn't terrible, but I mean, it was good enough for P9, and we definitely need to improve on that. Even though I lost a lot of time for Ascari, which is what I was going on about. You could easily lose time through there, but at the moment we're very similar to that lap time, because it wasn't terrible. It was just an odd corner here and there, which wasn't very good. Through a Lesmos, we've taken that very nicely, and now for the second of the two, very nice again. This should put us green, which it does, as we're now going down the straight towards Ascari. I know that this is where I can gain a couple of tenths probably on my previous best lap time, because this is where I lost a couple of tenths. Through the first part, this has been much more solid. You can see it just goes up and up, and we are now, yeah, we gained a couple of tenths there, which is ideal. So down the straight down into Parabolica, I could probably have taken this a little bit better as well, so we'll see. Go there, let's not get up on the grass this time, which is what we haven't done now, which is perfect. Got up on the green on the exit, which is probably the better line, because you just use as much of the track as you can. Crossing the line, we did improve, good enough for P6, which is perfect. It'll be good enough to see us into Q3, along with a few other cars, so that is very nice. No real surprises then with who got into Q3, as we're already setting one lap in Q3, because we obviously have got used tyres, and now we've gone very wide into the first corner, but it's not going to cost us too badly, because we've still got a half decent exit down towards Curva Grande, which is just here. And now still flying down here, braking into turn 4-5 chicane, getting the power down, running out a little bit wide really on the entry. Well, got a little bit too far left on entry, which meant we were a little bit wide on entry of the second part. Now through two Lesmos, very solid through there. I've been solid through there all weekend really, I think, even in practice, which obviously you don't get to see. That was nice and solid through there, and now coming up straight to Ascari. Cannot afford to mess this up and ruin the lap. I was very conscious of Lewis Hamilton behind me, because obviously at the moment he is on pole, and I didn't really want to hold him up. I don't think I was. I actually given him a nice little toe down the straight, but I reckon I might hold up at the end. He's no longer on pole. Vettel's just beating his time as we go through the Parabolica. Very nice through here, but we must have held Hamilton up a little bit because of dirty air, which is not going to be ideal. It's not really what we want us to do. We stick to the right hand side because it's the quicker line, and crossing over the line now to set a lap good enough for 6th fastest, which completes our goal, which is great because that means we're going to get 600 more resource points after this weekend.
It's time to remind ourselves of our top 3. Vettel, Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. Goodbye for now then, but we're really just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow. It's race day here in Italy once again. Monza, home to so many records. The smallest winning margin, for example. Do you remember in 1971, Peter Gethin beat Ronnie Peterson to the line by 1/100th of a second. There were 40 overtakes for the lead alone in 1965, and Kimi Raikkonen clocked a record top speed of 230 miles per hour here, just over a decade ago. So there's a lot to live up to then for all of our drivers today. We're 12 miles northeast of Milan for today's Grand Prix at a Monza circuit where we can expect top speeds of around 215 miles per hour. 11 corners on this 3.6-mile track, with 7 of those coming in the form of chicanes. And with a good slipstream and DRS open, there should be plenty of opportunity for some passing here today. It's a very tight turn 1 here and a very big braking zone. It's a corner, Anthony Davidson, where we've seen a number of lap 1 incidents in the past.
As you say, it's a very small piece of track when you have more than just one car trying to go through it. The actual run down towards the chicane is quite wide, so off the start, we'll often see drivers running 2 or maybe 3 abreast as they come up towards the braking zone. Everyone wants to brake late, of course, to win track position, and that tends to be where we see a lot of contact. And you'll see the more experienced drivers kind of hang back a little into here and focus more on picking up the pieces from other people's incidents.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday puts him on pole, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Verstappen, Iceman and Vettel. They've taken a grid penalty. Albon, Perez, Raikkonen and Lance Stroll, Giovinazzi, Hülkenberg, Kevin Magnussen and Gasly, Kvyat, Grosjean, Daniel Ricciardo and Carlos Sainz. Russell and Robert Kubica takes the last spot on the grid, and with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
You can run side by side into the Rettifilio, but don't brake too late on these cold tyres or you will hit someone.
Thanks, Jeff, for that information. As we now have the strategies, we'll put our standard amount of fuel in, 1.8 extra, and now with the tyres, this is the default strategy, which looks like probably the best one. If we go to 10, it looks like it might be a bit touch and go, so we'll go into the race. So on the default strategy, then seems like the best strategy, softs to mediums, but here we go then. We're underway in Italy. We've actually had a really decent start, really, side by side with Verstappen, but as you can see, he's just got the edge of us here, as we're just going to brake nice and easy, as Jeff said, but Albon didn't. Albon's absolutely flowed up his inside. That could make us lose 2 positions here, but it doesn't, as we managed to hold off the attack from Vettel, who also flew up the inside. As we don't want to stay behind Albon for long, because he made an absolute opportunistic move up ahead of us, so we're going to fly through, get a great slingshot through Curb Grande, and now on the brakes, don't want to go too late into the back of Verstappen. I think we've nailed that under braking, take it very slow and cautious through there. We don't want to do a Hamilton and Vettel in 2018 through there, and we have the inside line. We've got up on the grass through the inside, and we've completely lost the car, and we're going to have to concede the position for now, but I reckon we can probably get back up past him. Here we go, down the main straight to start lap 2. Can we get back up past Alex Albon? We've got Vettel right behind us, because we're in the slipstream of Albon, we're going to be able to keep him there now. Here we go then, past Alex Albon, as Jeff says, we're up a place, but are we still having to work for it? But we are now past Alex Albon and are into P5. Now, here we go then, we actually haven't had a very good exit through Ascari. You can easily lose time through there. Like I said, we've got Albon to our left, we've given him a little bit of a squeeze, but we did have the better straight line speed in the end, which keeps us up into P5, which is obviously where we started due to Sebastian Vettel's 5-place grid penalty for what would have been a Ferrari 1-2 around the Italian Grand Prix. But that's not really the point right now, as Albon could have got past us, but I think he actually just broke. I don't know why. I certainly didn't get in his way. I was just in the middle of the track, and he for some reason broke, as Vettel now gets up past Alex Albon, so it's his fault. He could have probably gone to my inside, but instead for some reason he backed out and broke, as we stay P5 with Vettel now in P6. Here we go then, on to start of lap 4, and we're going to have Sebastian Vettel right behind us, but we're in the tow of Verstappen, which is keeping us alive here really. If we weren't in the tow of Verstappen, God knows where we'd be at this moment in time, as we're going to stay P5 for now, as I don't think Vettel's going to have anything through Curva Grande, because we're still in that slipstream of Verstappen, and yeah, he's too far back for the time being, so we remain P5. As a lap later, here we go, we're absolutely flying on Verstappen. You can see this coming from a mile away. This car has been quick in a straight line all weekend, and we move up into P4 now, which is just phenomenal really, even though we did start P5, but we did go a little bit deep. Could that give a little bit of hope to Verstappen? I don't think it can, because this straight line speed of this seems we did obviously bring some straight line speed upgrades to it. It's really helping, and of course we've got the major one coming to Singapore next weekend, if it doesn't fail, obviously. And we're up into P4 now. Well, we've had a few failures in our career mode series so far, but we do not want to fail to keep P4 here, because that would be a great result, and luckily we're just about furled off ahead of Verstappen to keep P4 for the time being. As I don't think we've had a good exit, so I don't think he's going to be able to get us down into turn 4 after Curva Grande. Here we go then. We've had a really bad run out of the Lesmos again, which isn't going to do us any good, as Verstappen wants to go side by side with us through the Lesmos. We've got to keep it to the inside. We have to give each other enough space. We have done, as now we're going to try and give him plenty of space, because he wasn't actually, I could have given him a bit of a squeeze, he wasn't actually on my inside, but actually they're all behind us now. There's cars all over the road behind us, as we need to be careful, but luckily our straight line is just keeping us in front of us, and we can just watch him, as somehow Vettel has emerged in P5 behind us. I don't know how that's happened. We certainly didn't hold up Verstappen or anything. Certainly gave him plenty of space for that whole time, as we are still P4 with Vettel right behind us here. He's going to actually go for a move. He's going to go for 2 cars in 2 corners. What a move this could be for Vettel, but we're going to hold it up the inside. Here we're still there. We have to give each other the space, as we're going to try and hold it on the outside, get a good exit. We're going to be side by side up through Curva Grande. This could either be absolutely fine or horrific, as we're going to give a bit of a squeeze to the outside, but the straight line speed coming in clutch for us here, as we're going to stay in P4 ahead of Vettel, as we're on lap 7 of 27, which means we'll be pitting in about 3 to 4 laps time ideally, so things could change then. Now moving on to the start of lap 8, we got every single car we don't want behind us here. We got Mercedes power, Ferrari power behind us. Vettel tries to get past us. He has got past. We're side by side with him, as we then have Perez up our inside. We nearly just collected him there. I tried to go for a switchback, and then I turned left, and then there was Perez there, so I couldn't. That could have ended badly, as we're going to go for the ultimate slingshot of dreams through Curva Grande, which is exactly what we're going to get, as we're going to get back up past Vettel here. But we have to be careful side by side through here, and it's Vettel. This is exactly what happened in 2018 when Vettel got spun round, but this has not happened with us, as we are fine and Vettel is fine, and we're back up into P4. But to be fair, I reckon it could be only a matter of time until Vettel gets past us. We've actually taken the Lesmos quite nicely, but obviously Vettel is still flying. He's got the better aero and chassis package, and he's going to cruise past us. There's no fight here. We have to be solid through Ascari and then go get him down the main straight again. As through Ascari we've lost the back end a bit, and that's going to lose us loads of time, but we've lost already a second to Vettel pretty much. That is really frustrating. I checked my tyre where I didn't even realise they were as bad as they were. 54% on the rears. It's never fun, especially on softs, as we're not good. We're way too far back. Look how far back we are already. We're going to lose P4. I reckon we're going to lose it for good, which is a real shame, because P4 would have been a phenomenal result. On to lap 11 then. Vettel's coming to the pits just in front of us. We're in the pits. Hulkenberg is a retired car. If you look at the bottom left of your screen, there's a yellow flags out. Great stop from the McLaren team. It's now coming out of the pits. We've got Magnussen in between us and Verstappen, who is actually, I think, well, he pitted a lot earlier than us, so I don't know what strategy he's doing. So we're going to go to the left hand side on Magnussen, early on the brakes, because these brakes aren't brilliant now. Give him the room. He's hit us in the side, and he has been spun round. Oh dear, he's the last of the running cars, and now he's been spun. I gave him the space. That's just a racing incident. That is what I was on about though. That could so easily happen. That is pretty much what happened with Vettel and Hamilton in 2018, except for I think Vettel was where I was in that crash, so it's a little bit different. All the way onto lap 20. So Verstappen was indeed two-stopping. So we've actually moved back up into P5. We've got a big gap in front, big gap behind, and just like last race, I don't think this is going to change. So I'm just going to skip to the final lap because yeah, nothing is going to change in this race. My tyres are going to get very badly worn probably, but other than that, no one's going to overtake me. We're not going to be overtaking anyone, and that'll be it.
Okay, the incident has been cleared.
And Perez behind, I think, yeah, Perez has an engine issue behind. It's the final lap of the race, and Sergio Perez running in a lofty P6 for that Racing Point team, and I think Stroll was behind him in P7. Yeah, Perez is out of the session on the final lap of the race. And to make it even worse, I think Stroll was getting overtaken by Albon as well on the final lap. Awful for Racing Point, absolute tragedy for them. Yeah, Albon up into P6, absolute tragedy for them. As here we go, down the main straight towards Ascari. Here, that is tragedy for Racing Point. They have one car retires. It would have been a P6, P7 finish, which is phenomenal for them. As Lewis Hamilton's won the Grand Prix. I think it's good for us though, because I think that means that Carlos Sainz does get his 10th place, which is one extra point to his tally, which could make all the difference, you never know. As my tyres are just dead at this point, I said they probably would be. That's why I've been losing time to the car behind, because there's just no grip on them. But anyway, we're going to come home P5 in the Italian Grand Prix. P5 to P5, solid drive as we are done.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
So, another fantastic victory for the Silver Arrows. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Well, I know it's a bit of a boring answer, but the truth is they simply had the best speed package on the day, and a driver who knows how to take advantage of that. It doesn't matter how much time you spend poring over the stats and planning strategies if you can't keep the pace, and our winner today showed they could do both.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Carlos Sainz would be my first choice for this race. He had excellent race stamina, giving him the opportunity to charge through the ranks.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Well, that was certainly an incredible weekend of racing. Be sure to join myself and Ant for more exciting Formula One action soon.
So there we go then, that was the Italian Grand Prix done. And obviously we qualified 6th, which means that we got a resource points. We got 600 resource points because that was our goal. And we can now upgrade the car with it, obviously. So I'm going to quickly... Well, we already bring an upgrade to next weekend unless they fail. So I'm going to do a control electronics durability upgrade because the control electronics really, mostly for next season if anything, they're quite bad, so I need to somehow save them.
I recommend we could go for something like this.
And I'm going to do an aero one as well, because then we have a major one just here, which we can perhaps bring in future episodes. As we have here, look, we have all 3 of these coming to next weekend, unless they fail, obviously. Which hopefully they won't, because I've had a few failures. Here are the rivals, so I am destroying Perez. Obviously he had that unfortunate DNF at the end of that race, and Carlos Sainz to a really bad qualifying in 18th, which was, yeah, not ideal for him. But other than that, that will be everything for this episode. If you guys have enjoyed, please remember to smash the hell out of that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already for further content in the future, Next race will be at Singapore, which is the final street circuit on the calendar. Always a very tough race, to be fair. It's not the easiest track on this F1 game. And I will see you next time.